Alright friends, so I'm working on my dishwasher. It's a Frigidaire Gallery, I don't remember the exact serial number or whatever, bought it at Lowe's. Frigidaire Gallery brand, and we installed it, months ago. We just slid into the hole here where we needed to go and got it put in place. And had hooked it up and run it a couple of times successfully on rinse cycles, and everything was fine. It filled up, it pumped out, everything worked fine. But since then, out of the way. Since then, we have pulled it in and out about a dozen more times while we were painting these cabinets. And now, for whatever reason, it won't fill with water. So, yes, the valve is on. I know it's off right now, but it was on. I've tested. So I'm going through right now troubleshooting what it could be why it won't fill with water. I disconnected the line right here and ran that into a bucket. It's fine. That line's not blocked. The next thing I did was I pulled out right here where that line connects, and there's an inlet screen. And you see that inlet screen's fine, it's not blocked. So my next thing to think would be that, and I don't know, I'm going to try to look through the manual and see if it'll tell me what some of this stuff is, but it normally doesn't unless you have a true service manual. I think this is a inlet valve, electronic valve. If that electronic valve has failed and just won't open, then you're not going to get any water in the unit. That's the only thing I can think, because beyond that, this rubber hose just goes up right into the unit. There's no way to do anything different with that. So it's either this valve is not opening because it's stuck or blocked, or because the computer simply won't tell it to open the valve. So, I worked on my stinking electric dryer a week ago, because it just decided to stop heating. And I went through the whole thing. I checked every connection. I tested every component of it. They all said they were good. Put it all back together and it started working again. Didn't fix a thing. Didn't change anything. So I'll try that on this too. I'll pull apart all the electrical connections and put them all back together, and I don't know, thump on some stuff and cuss at it a little bit and see what I can figure out. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to try, I've got this hooked back up down there. Like I said, all that appeared fine. Wiggle the connections. So tracing this supply hose, it comes up and runs in right here. I'm going to disconnect this hose and put it into my pan. Now when I turn the valve on over there with the dishwasher not running, I believe nothing should run out of here. And then I'm going to turn the dishwasher on to rinse mode to where it should start filling. And if that electronic valve down there is the problem, then I would think this won't run any water. So we're going to disconnect that and see what that does. Okay, so valve is on, as you can see. So water is running as far as there. No water here. Dishwasher's on rinse mode. So I would think it should be filling. First thing, I can hear it. It's running, it's turning, it's trying to do stuff, but no water. So either that valve is not working or it's not getting a signal to work. Now the next guess would be that if it's not that fill sensor or fill switch, it could be this overfill switch. The way this thing works, this is just a float valve. If your tub here gets too full, this will come up and float in the water and it'll shut the water off. This was sticking up, but it's dropping down now on its own. So I think it's fine as far as being afloat. Now, maybe the sensors that are inside of it aren't making contact, so that when it drops down, it still somehow is telling it that it's open. Not entirely sure how that works. Have to try to look at it some if I can. But it's, let's see, it's right here in the front of the unit, and I can't really see any wires or anything coming directly off of it. So I'll have to try to trace it. But you can see our wires here coming into the fill valve. There's just two wires. So I should be able to test those. I should be able to disconnect this and then go ahead and turn the dishwasher on again. And when it should be filling, these should have voltage to them to open this valve. So maybe if they're not getting voltage, then you would say, well, it's a computer issue or the fill sensor is interrupting it. So then I'll have to trace those back and try to figure out where it's losing its signal. Okay, I think I might have got it. I don't know this for sure, but if you guys listen. it's running water. I'm not going to disconnect. I don't need to. I can hear this hose is running. And what I did, I had to take this front shield off and look under here. These little, that's the bottom side of that high-level float sensor right there. And this little plunger, you hear the dishwasher shut off and then turn on. So that gray rod there, that's the extension of that float that I was just showing you up top. So this little device here it feels like a little spring to it basically. So if that float comes up because the tub is too full, essentially this, then it shuts off the water flow because it breaks an electrical connection right here. Drops back down, water starts running. This was kind of stuck down, I thought. It seemed like it was down too far almost. I didn't disconnect anything, I didn't function test anything. I just reached under here and I just hit that thing and it popped loose. And then I thought, well, if I'm gonna start checking for continuity, let me go ahead and turn the cycle on and I'll start looking for signal. And I just turned it on. As soon as I turned it on, I heard it start running and filling. So it sounds like now it's definitely filling. It may have just been that this thing just got bumped somehow. Actually, you know what it is? This thing, I know what it is. This foam padding, I put that foam padding back in. So we've been using the dishwasher without that foam padding and that kick plate on. That foam padding has been in here shoving up against that rod. That's the problem. So that little, even though that rod would move, if I grabbed it, that plastic rod would move, that little shoe to go up and down was not moving. It was stuck up because of that foam. So I'm gonna have to check as I put this foam back in now. I'm gonna have to look real close at it and make sure I don't put that in a bind again. That's the problem. Okay, so yeah, this is it. This piece of foam, it looks almost symmetrical. I'll pull it out and show you here in a second, but you can see right now with it shoved in there, it's wanting to, if I push it back in there, it's wanting to hit that assembly. You can see it moving, okay? I'll pull it out of here and show you. This is how I made the mistake. It looks almost the same. The difference is this has that little kind of grooved out cut versus a square cut. But other than that, it looks almost perfectly symmetrical. If I flip it around here and put it in properly, of course. I just bumped that sensor, I heard it move. You see that square hole goes over your adjustment feet, but now you can see it's not contacting that float at all, and that's what you need. So I got that put in there right. I'll put my kick plate back on, slide this puppy in, and anchor it. So yeah, good little test here of troubleshooting. Of course, your manual won't tell you this because manuals just tell you, oh, if it's broken, call a repairman. But basically what happened, so my failure had nothing to do with me moving the unit in and out, unplugging, replugging. There's no actual sensor failures. The failure came in when when my wife and I excitedly said, yes, we're finally done with all the painting, because we've been painting these cabinets. So we slid the dishwasher in and we put that foam back in there. I put the foam back in there and didn't realize that it had a specific way it had to go. I just shoved it in there, put the plastic kick plate on, good to go. So in doing that, I made that valve switch malfunction. So good little lesson there. That's something that could easily happen. Anybody else, if you're working on your kitchen, or if you're putting in a new dishwasher maybe, and you for whatever reason take that kick plate off or do something, and then you get your foam backwards. Very, very simple, very easy mistake to make. And if you're going to call out a repair guy, that could be very, very costly repair. So, I always encourage people, troubleshoot, try to tinker on these things and figure them out yourself. They're really not that complicated. And pretty much, unless it's a computer malfunction, you can almost always fix it yourself. Even if that means, a temporary fix where you hotwire something or whatever if you have to. Like that float switch, for example, if that switch was actually bad and I couldn't find a replacement part, I could just bypass that float level switch and, bank on it that my dishwasher wouldn't fill up too much and overflow. Now, I wouldn't want to do that because I think that's actually, I don't know if that's a secondary, safety feature, or if that's the primary, that float is what the unit always relies on to tell it when to turn the water off. But again, very, very simple mistake to make. Anybody can do it. So I'm happy I think I figured it out. Share it with you guys, and hopefully this helps somebody out there.